Hello guys, welcome to another video from Oscar Cooper. I hope you're all well. Today we are doing party-based action RPGs. Bit of a strange one, but I realise I own a whole bunch of them. A few disclaimers here: we're not going to include Bethesda games, i.e. Fallout or Skyrim. That's not really the direction I want to go in. This is more about having a big party, playing a classic RPG setup. So we're going to start off first of all with Child of Light, a real classic on the PlayStation Network. Beauty is not this game's only merit. It's actually a turn-based RPG game that's based in the sort of JRPG roots. What I mean by that is that you have a party, you can swap them in and out. There's only two on screen at the same time, but you can actually bring in other party members during a combat scene, which is pretty cool. Now what happens is you get turns, you get the chance to cast a spell or do a move that has a timeline on it. That may be a short, instant or long or medium move, and this corresponds to the bar at the bottom of the screen, meaning that your character icon will move quicker down that line if you produce a quicker move, thus interrupting other players if you've beaten them to a move set. It's a classic setup and it works really well. It's sort of been stripped down. Ubisoft have offered a lot of depth with the skill trees on this game. There's also a really cool, nice and simple crafting system as well. I go back to this game a lot because it was free for a while, and it's also on the Vita, and it carries around so well. It's a really cool portable RPG, and if you like that classic setup from these sort of old school, where you are casting spells, you're healing other characters, you're sort of jostling and managing a lot of health, etc., it's perfect for that. It's also got some co-op elements as well. You'll see that there's a little light flying around the screen, and that can be controlled by someone else on another pad, and you can be given health. You can actually stun enemies with it. It's a very clever game, this. Don't be fooled by its sort of smooth, easygoing visuals.
Tell that to my legs.
You guys even pushing?
Hard as I can.
So next up, Final Fantasy 15. You might think this game is quite far down the list, but there is some really strong titles on this list, and I had to think long and hard about where to put this game because I love it. It got quite a lot of crap from the critics, and a lot of Final Fantasy fans are a bit like, oh, they've sold out, they've changed everything. But what you're looking at here is sort of almost a real-time combat scenario. You only control one character from your roster, and you have four, but I love the idea of being able to customize the characters, change their outfits, add in trinkets, upgrade all their weapons, etc. It's got a very good visual appeal in that respect. I like being able to see differences in my weapon types. I like to be able to see differences in attack patterns, and I like to buy and upgrade and slot in and slot out all this stuff for everybody. I think that's important. There's a pretty cool skill tree as well. This game has quite a lot of depth when it comes to upgrading everybody and changing their behavior patterns. It's quite important that when you invest in certain characters, that's produced in combat, and you can see the results of your sort of time spent. Now, what you can see here is that you can involve the party in a sort of larger move, and you have a selection of 3 of them that are spent on the other 3 characters that you're not controlling. And these are cool. You work together. You get an opportunity to actually finish that move off with a big sort of timed button press, and that looks amazing, to be honest with you.
Agnes!
You're out!
Biggie, look out. Thunder. What?
Final Fantasy is a very large game, and recently they put a patch in to change the back end of the story mode to sort of improve it a bit. It is really worth looking at, and it's just a shame that it's up against some really amazing games on this list, so enjoy it. He says amazing games and then brings out Mass Effect Andromeda. Hear me out here, okay? I understand your pain with this game. I was very disappointed with it on launch, and it has gone through a large amount of changes. I think that you need to remember that this is a party-based RPG list, and this game manages to tick a lot of the boxes. There's a lot of character interaction here. A lot of the characters have backstory missions, and a lot of the dialogue's pretty awesome, but you can drill down and actually upgrade each character to your choice, and what I mean by that that is you can really select different skill tree options that complement your moves or the other moves that you're bringing into that mission or that particular party. It works very well, and also this game still looks gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It's had a 4K, not quite 4K, I think there's a bit of scaling in there, but it's got some pro support, some really good pro support. I think that, you know, poor old Mass Effect has had a bash around, and I really love it. I love its sci-fi aspects. It's BioWare, of course, they know what they're doing. Yeah, it's a little bit janky, but this combat really works. It works because your team members and their specials are great to play on. You know, they'll pull something out, you'll lift someone in the air, your teammate will smash them down again. You feel like you're being supported. You feel like the people that you've selected for that mission actually worked, and things are sort of, there's an impact from that. The game is huge. There's a lot of content. It does really well, offering a multiplayer aspect, which is like a horde mode, which works really well. But I just want to say that it's worth looking at now, I think, and it's gone through a lot of changes. It's had a lot of abuse, bless it, but Mass Effect's not bad. It is not a bad game. Yeah, punishment, abuse. It's the Dark Souls of the party-based RPG games, and this one is just a true classic. From Kickstarter, available on the PlayStation Network, and we had it free, I think, as well, on the Vita, it might have been. Party selection is really important with this game. It's incredible the amount of detail it offers. 4 party members, all standing in a line, okay, from left to right, and it means that where you position each character is so important on what moves that character has to access. There's healers, there's damage dealers, there's all kinds of quick agility when it comes to these guys, and there's of course a huge amount of infantry management involved before going out on a quest. It's extremely important. So you're kind of walking around, you're shitting yourself, traps, God knows what. You have a map down there. You have to keep the torches alight, because if the darkness comes, the monsters get a buff, and when the monsters come, holy crap, it's a bit like playing Russian roulette with a schizophrenic. I mean, this game the dice rolling in this game is just crazy. You think everything's going really well, and then of course it just goes tits up almost immediately. There's no predicting this game. It is so punishing.
There can be no hope in this hell. No hope at all.
The commentator is just awesome. He does nothing but depress and put the fear of God into you. You're being constantly reminded that you are on a knife's edge every single mission. And as you saw back there, characters mentally break down. That's the white meter underneath their health. And if that gets to the top, they just go crazy. They can ruin everything, completely dismantle your whole team. They refuse to heal or stay in one position. Darkest Dungeon is a true party-based RPG classic. I absolutely love it. So Supergiant gave us a party-based RPG in the form of Pyro, and this game is beautiful. If you know them, they do not half-ass their artwork, and it's very dialogue-heavy, it's very pretty, it's very detailed, but have a quick look at the gameplay, because if you don't know about it, it may appear a little bit strange.
All of the temper's gone. With grace.
So you have 3 characters for each bout, and what you're doing is you're walking around a world sort of fighting for your liberation. I won't go into too much detail of that, but the wealth of characters, the rosters that you have are massive, and you have a caravan. You sort of add more and more strange and quirky characters to your list, but you can only pick 3 for the actual fight itself. They've all got amazingly cool skill trees. They've all got sort of hotkeys which produce loads of different moves, and again, back on the complementary level, it's really cool to actually join 2 characters together, or pick a team that actually has various moves that work in conjunction with other moves. It's cool. You have tank characters, you have speed characters, etc. But this game, along with being absolutely beautiful, has a really, really deep story to it, and it was a real surprise this year. Actually, it's going to go on my GOTY list, because I love the idea. The actual gameplay itself is a bit like a football game where you're running around and you're trying to get a sphere into a goal, but you can block and produce sort of barriers and moves or jump and avoid to combat the other players, and they're all doing the same thing. So it's sort of a 3-on-3 arrangement. It's pretty amazing, to be honest.
And there it is at last.
So now it's time for Divinity Original Sin, and a game that's very close to my heart, and the reason it's so high on this list and beat those other games is because it offers a full-blown split-screen mode. So this whole game can be played in couch co-op with two of you on the same screen. Very clever idea. It's also a very pretty game, very detailed game. I like the idea of the environments, the world building, the lore is absolutely phenomenal. Now it is a turn-based game, but don't let that put you off. One of the things I want to cover is just the amount of detail on everything, like armor type, weapon types, all kinds of infantry types and crafting, and just the loot and stuff that you find is mind-boggling. It's so detailed. It's a deep game. It actually offers the ability to control each one of your party individually. You can just flip to them whenever you want, or you can split them up, and combat is difficult. It's very tactical. As you can see at the top of the screen there, you've got the move roster, the classic time-based move roster where some moves are quick. You can jump to the top of that list. You can see when the monsters have got their turn, but this game offers a real cool idea of element type. So there's water, there's fire, there's oil. Things can go very wrong because you can do just like this, an electric attack, and realize you're all standing in water. This can affect everybody. The fire works really well with oil. You can burst oil barrels and then set that all ablaze, causing massive damage on enemies. It's very good, this game. It's something that I am discovering more and more of because of the amount of detail involved in the missions and the quest types, and just how massive it is. Just think a Witcher style universe, Diablo style, sort of top down, with all that loot combined with a really cool sort of turn-based combat system with some co-op split screen thrown in for good measure. Absolutely amazing. Divinity Original Sin is one of our best games this year.
Let the blood of our enemies be your motivation.
In at number 4, and a bit of a surprise entry, is actually Battle Chasers Night War. This is from THQ Nordic. These are the guys that gave us the Darksiders games. You can probably recognise that art style already. It's got an amazing sort of comic book, almost Castlevania-esque paint job on it. And one thing I want to just highlight straight away is look how gorgeous this game is. You might think, why is it so damn high on the list? Why is it beating all these other amazing games? Well, the first thing is that the art style. I love this art style. It's really cool. It's almost Supergiant-esque. Very awesome. Now this exists in the traditional JRPG format. If you're a PlayStation 2 fan and you know the early Final Fantasy games, you know exactly what you're looking at here. You've got your movesets running across the left here, and again we've got timed attacks with big, long, short, instant, all that sort of stuff. You do have a 3-character roster. There's more characters to jostle in and out of in the game, but straight away I jumped into this. I knew what I was doing straight away. I loved how it's all been streamlined. It comes with none of the problems that some of the older traditional JRPGs come with, and THQ Nordic have just done an amazing job with it. It's so accessible, it's got so much depth, but at the same time it all feels so familiar. What an amazing little game. Infantry management and equipment and combat skills will be familiar to anyone who's into the genre. You can literally dive straight into this game and know exactly what you're doing. I think that's why I love it so much, is because I just hit the ground running. Nothing's too complicated. It gave me what I wanted. Cool loot, cool drops, cool unlocks, everything's there.
Being strangers, you don't know how rough we get around here.
You've got your cool little open world map where you run around, go to villages, find secrets, open up dungeons, find new merchants. There's potions, there's crafting, there's the smithy, everything's there. You've even got the obligatory fishing stuff in it. So what a cool game. Battle Chasers, you must go and look at it. It's also available on the Switch. Yeah, you probably recognise this straight away. It is, of course, number 3 on the list, Persona 5, and a game that I've got a bit of a grudge with because of the embargo on recording in-game gameplay. Everyone knows about this. It's been a big topic for a long time, and you know, I can understand their reasons for doing it, but of course it's a little bit annoying for a YouTuber like me who wants to show you some of the mechanics of a great game like this. And when I say great, if you go to Metacritic and look at the scores of this game, it's probably going to win Game of the Year across a lot of the categories actually. And if you don't know anything about the Persona series, it's basically a traditional JRPG right down to the wire. It is a party-based game. There is there's 4 of you maximum, 3 tag-alongs, and of course you have what's called the personas, which are huge, big, powerful sort of beings that exist behind you in combat that you can summon and bring in. I love the game. This particular version, I have 4 on my Vita. This particular version looks stunning. It plays like an anime. The cutscenes are breathtaking. The story is a bit convoluted, but yeah, I unfortunately can't go into a lot of the mechanics on it. You just have to trust me on this one, that it's definitely worth purchasing. If any of these games appeal to you on the list, this one certainly will. Okay, back to some actual game footage, and apologies for that, but this one is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen from Capcom. Came out in 2012, I think, 2013, 2012, is that right, the date on there? Bloody hell, this game has held up well.
Just set one foot in front of the other, and by the Maker's
The
love.
moonlight lends the space an otherworldly feel.
It's the classic 4-player. As you can see here, you can bring in mages or archers. I myself are playing as a warrior, and this game got a reskin for the PlayStation 4, got a remaster, and I'm very, very impressed with the visuals. I was preparing myself for some janky ass shit, and I didn't get it. I love the way this game looks. It's no problems whatsoever, but everybody will tell you Dragon's Dogma, it's the combat, it's the loot, it's the AI, it's the what they call the pawn system, which I'll go into in a little bit, but just the world, its expansiveness, and the variety of enemy types, and how you fight them, and how your team support you. It's a phenomenal game. It's a real unsung hero in the genre, and I think one of the strongest party-based RPG games out there at the moment, and very cheap. Saw it on the PlayStation Network with the Black Friday discounts, but if you can see a hard copy of it, grab it. I don't think there's a lot of them knocking around. It's certainly worth picking up in physical copy. Walking around dingy and dangerous dungeons is part of the appeal of this game for me. Some of the lighting is quite ahead of its time. I think there's a really cool atmospherics and a lot of darkness and a lot of spooky enemies that creep out on you. And of course that combat is almost Dark Souls. It's almost reactionary based. It's quite arcade-like, so it's got quite a lot of satisfaction with it when it delivers. Now, let's talk about this pawn system. So you have a 3-player slot. One of those slots is taken up by a permanent member. Mine's called Oscillation, and he's the guy you sort of rank up yourself and give equipment to. Then you have 2 other free slots, and you can go into this almost lobby and actually pick 1 or 2 and bring them in, and they all have their ranks, they all have their strengths. It's a constantly revolving conveyor belt of new materials. Some of them are made by the players, and some of them are manufactured. It's an incredible idea. I wanted to point out a lot of the unlocks, a lot of the moves, a lot of the hotkeys. You get to open up all kinds of amazing different moves for you and your AI companion. Boss fights are kind of what this game hangs itself on as well, but really it's just one of the amazing prongs that keeps bringing me back to this game. But you can actually clamber all over them, Shadow of the Colossus style, and sort of whack and hack bits off them, Monster Hunter style. And of course your team get involved, they jump on the beast as well. It's Dragon's Dogma, the more I'm talking about it, the more I really think it has had such a struggle it was not to put this at number 1. The next game on the list will hopefully rock your world, and I hope I've got it right for you, but just want to make clear that this game, it's the depth, the addictiveness, the unlockables, the way the progression happens, the story even, it's really Capcom at its finest when it comes to making an action RPG that involves more than one character. You can't switch them out, i.e. you can't control them. That's one of the only things that is missing. But other than that, top game. So we're at number 1, and thanks very much guys for staying with me. And of course, hopefully I've got this right, but it is Dragon Age Inquisition from BioWare, when BioWare used to come out with absolute stellar titles, Knights of the Old Republic being one of them, and this series being another one. I mean, I prefer this one to its predecessors, to tell you the truth. And of course, this is a remastered version for the current gen systems, and I'm looking at this on a 4K TV with a Pro, and I was frightened about, you know, low quality textures jumping out at me and just seeing loads of bad stuff, and I haven't. I'm very satisfied with the game's visuals, and I'm also very satisfied with the differences in locale and the variety of the world that the game offers to you, the venues and the different sort of areas that you fight and explore. They're really incredible. It's a really good looking game. This must have dropped jaws when it came out initially. Okay, so what's the idea? Well, you know it by now. You've got 3 slots here. It's a 4-player action RPG, and you get to put in, you know, rogues and mages and warriors, etc. And what I really enjoy about it is that you're kind of at the top of you're an inquisitor, which means that you look after a whole area, and you get various points to unlock different areas to go and then explore, etc. It works very well actually to help open up. So why is this game at the top of the list? Well, I love the idea of being able to go up and down on the directional button and actually switch into any character that you're playing with within combat or within the game itself. They've done this before. BioWare are quite good at this sort of stuff, but it's incredible to be able to become a character, pull them away, like this range guy here. I want to give you special off, so bang, I get some distance, and I can just manage them myself. You know, the AI is not always going to play the game as perfectly as you, so you get to just jostle in and out who you want to play as, and I think that lets you see the battlefield from a number of different angles. You get a feel that you're an entire team. You get to know all of your characters and their intricacies and what specials they can do and can't do, and when they work and when they don't work. The game also offers a tactical aerial view where it pauses the combat. Now that's a bit like XCOM or anything else in that genre, and that's handy, but really only when you're fighting big bosses. I found myself completely comfortable in the sort of on the boots on the ground view, which is fine. You can see everything, you can rotate the camera around, etc. You're basically going around sort of cleansing the land of these sort of crazy demons, etc. But another huge draw point for me is how much detail and depth they've put into the loot and armor and accessories and upgrades and trinkets and all kinds of cool little loot items that you find in dungeons, etc. This is done really well. This is a really in-depth area of this game. The crafting on this game alone is just, the depth is just phenomenal. I mean, you just lose yourself in finding all these little things to make a better version, or put a different sword handle, or make a crossbow better. It's great. So much depth with that. So Dragon Age Inquisition, for me, it does everything right for what I'm looking for in the genre. I love the lore and the fact that it's kind of in a medieval setting. I think that works really well. I think the game holds up very well as well today, with the fact that it's had a nice sort of new look for the current gen systems. And I think if you've never gone anywhere near this and you're a fan of the games that we've had on this list already, then Dragon Age Inquisition is a no-brainer. Just the universe itself, there's just so much weird stuff going on in here. There's and of course, as BioWare always do, the relationships between its characters are very complex. So yeah, give it a look. Dragon Age Inquisition, my #1 action RPG party game, and of course guys, I will see you down there.